Imagine, if you will, what it must have been like after dark in the farms, ranches, and small towns of America 75 years ago. Before there was power. Before there was electricity. But that was all about to change, and change it did when farmers, ranchers, and rural families banded together to shine a light on the need to turn the lights on in rural America. When the electric co-ops were born, something much bigger happened. For when we turned the lights on, we helped democratize the American dream for the people, families, farms, ranches, and businesses of rural America. The effect was so powerful that in 1940, a man sitting in a pew in a small rural church in Tennessee was moved to say, "Brothers and sisters, I want to tell you two things. The greatest thing in the world is to have God in your heart, and the next greatest thing on earth is to have electricity in your home." Today, a new generation of electric co-op members, just like the farmers, ranchers, and rural families did 75 years ago, must again answer the call. We are the owners of the co-ops and are the fabric of the communities in which we live and work. And as faith and trust in other institutions sink, the need to empower, inspire, and mobilize each other to take care of ourselves, our neighbors, and our communities rises. Think back now about the profound impact our founding members made 3/4 of a century ago and grab hold of that same spirit, because we are the electric cooperative members of tomorrow, and our work has just begun.
Hello, my name is Max Walser. I'm president of the EnergyUnited Board of Directors. I served on the Davison EMC board for a number of years prior to its merger with Crescent Electric. Of course, we're now EnergyUnited. 76 years ago, President Roosevelt created the Rural Electrification Act and formed many of the rural electric co-ops that we now know across our nation. Their purpose was to bring electricity, that is power and light, to our rural communities. And of course, they did a very good job with this. They built a number of lines all across our service area, and they were built by our people here in this area to provide this electricity to folks. I recently had the good fortune and opportunity to sit down with some of our longtime EnergyUnited consumers, Clyde and Marlene Hendren, and Josephine and Jimmy Watts. They told us their story about how they first got electricity and how good it was to be able to switch on a light and get electricity in their house. This was a story that needs to be told over and over again, particularly for our new and young consumers at EnergyUnited.
Only time you seen a light burning was like when you went to town. And it was something that people had to sort of get used to. I was 7 years old. We got electricity run into the house, and the guys come and set the poles up. They had this truck that had a long trailer behind it, had 3 poles on it. This guy got on the end of the pole and stood there with his foot, and there's 3 guys got out here, and they picked this pole up and dropped it right down that hole and run lines to it and run electricity to the house. Had 1 light in each room. And it hung down about like this. And when they turned the lights on, oh, you wouldn't believe the difference. Things changed ever since that day.
When I lived in Arkansas, we didn't know what electricity was. And then we come here to North Carolina, and we heated with wood and cooked on a wood stove.
I remember I was about 9 years old. It was in '47 when they completed it, and but I watched them dig the holes. Back then they didn't have these new trucks with the boards on. They used a auger well, they had a arm on it that two men would work it, and if they went down and hit a rock and they couldn't bust the rock with a big long iron rod, they moved the hole over a little bit. Then watching them pull the line, when the man had climbed the pole and had put it on, they had arms on them back then, and they would climb up and run the wire across the line. They'd pull it, and there'd be several men pulling on it, and sometimes they get up close to the road, they'd pull it with a truck. I remember it real well because I was standing in my grandpa's living room, and they said, well, we're going to turn the light on now, and they went in there and pulled it. Of course, I was being a kid, I thought that was something good to pull that light off and on, and they made me quit because they were afraid I'd break the chain or burn the light bulb out. It was really amazing and great to have electric radio you could turn on and not have to worry about the battery running down. Like I say, my grandfather had, prior to that, he had his own mill, and the wheel was made out of wood. And they'd set during the day, and they'd get waterlogged, and then when they turned the water on, they'd go up real slow, and when the light would be dim, then when the wheel started down, it was heavy, and it'd speed up, and it'd brighten the light up. And when they run the REA run the power in the grandpa's, all you had to do was pull a chain, and it didn't run. It didn't get bright and dim. It stayed bright all the time. I really appreciate the convenience of the REA, or like now is EnergyUnited, sending the power in here, and you don't have to do without.